Hi everybody, this is Leah at Fresh Astrology. We're looking at the new moon in Gemini on June 13th. The impact of a new moon flows forward and will cover the following days and into the weekend. And the theme has a lot to do with Gemini because it's in Gemini. So think communication, letters, emails, contracts, public speech, talks you need to give, talks you need to have, discussions you need to have, important conversations. Or for some of you, the students out there, exams. Do you have an oral exam or just any exam? Are you studying? This is of the mind. This has to do with the language center of the brain. So just think of what you're working on like that. I know in my life, just to get you thinking and also to show you how multi-layered this is, in my life I have an important, very important conversation I need to have the day after the new moon. And I have, it's just easier to do this on my phone, but I know it's shakier for you guys. So very important conversation I have to have. A very important letter I need to write and have it done probably Wednesday or Thursday. And then I have a website I'm working on. So that's communication related, marketing, getting your message out. I'm also starting some new books that I'm reading or listening to actually on Audible. And the books happen to be on the topic of the internal thought process and how we evolve in our thinking and kind of the spiritual thought. And so I can see this theme cutting across my life in many, many different ways. And because of the other planetary alignments out there, what's going on right now is very important. It has been, but right now I would say be aware, focus on what needs to get communicated, focus on the messages you need to send or receive. I would say if nothing's occurring to you and you're like, I send emails every day. There's nothing unusual about, Wednesday, or I have conversations all the time. There's nothing unusual. Something may come out of the blue and surprise you, an important conversation that surprises you, an important communication like via mail or email or text that surprises you. So maybe you don't know what it is. Maybe it's incoming rather than outgoing. However, like I was showing you with myself, it's multi-layered. So it's not as simplistic as you get a surprise message because you're clueless about what I'm talking about. I would say if you're really like, nope, no important conversations, I don't need to get in touch with anyone or talk about anything, then I would say you're in denial. And welcome to the club, by the way, because we all, no matter how aware we are, and no matter how educated, and no matter how spiritual or mindful, we all go into denial. We all do it because it's a protective device our brain presents to us when we don't want to feel pain. We don't want to experience pain or panic around something we feel we can't control or something we just don't want to deal with because we're scared of the consequences. So I don't want to, denial can range from something relatively minor in our lives to something kind of seriously consequential. One of the classic kinds of denial that people go into are family members or spouses of somebody who has an addiction, a serious addiction. That's a classic form of denial. So I'm not suggesting that's your issue, but that's just, most people are familiar with that kind of denial. You observe other people around you and totally not paying attention to something really serious. So that just gives you a clue what denial looks like. But we all have varying degrees of denial somewhere because we just don't want to deal. So one kind of innocuous situation that I'm totally making up is, like, let's say you've got a friend at work and somehow that friend's been dropping lots of hints. There've been lots of signs, maybe some private conversations, or you've seen them going back and forth to HR, and part of your brain is smart enough to know. Part of your brain already knows this friend's probably leaving the company. But that's your friend. They haven't talked to you about it. You would rather they stay because that's like the person you hang out with. You might be a little worried if you started thinking about it. And even though they've dropped hints and you've seen lots of clues, you never bring it up. And maybe even if they start to try to bring it up and start a conversation, you cut them off and start talking about the weather because part of you just doesn't want to know. And so we all do this. So is there, I would say, something you've not wanted to look at, something you've not wanted to know, and something you've not wanted to say, and maybe there's a conversation you would just rather not have, so you keep putting it off, pretending like no, I'll get to it, or maybe I don't even need to say anything. Maybe it'll just take care of itself. And there may be something like that going on. Maybe there's something I'm forgetting. I don't know. But what big, 500-pound magenta gorillas are sitting in your room with you, and what needs to be attended to? That might be the issue for some of you, especially if you're like, no important conversations, I don't need to write anybody. There may be some form of denial going on. So maybe think about that, because on a new moon in Gemini, it might be a good time to notice and to start paying attention to whatever this is. All right, take care.